Good morning and welcome back to the garden. Today is Sunday, August 14th. Have we ever talked about mulch? Did a little yard work a couple days ago, raked it up into a little pile. And this is Bermuda grass. And you can see 4 inches thick or thicker. See how nicely that browned that whole thing out? I do get quite a few questions about whether I should put paper or cardboard down before I put any mulch down. It's your choice. You can plant through that very easily. I just don't do any of it. I put it down minimum of 4 inches, usually about a foot thick, and that does the trick. It's a catch-22. Yes, it killed out the grass, but it didn't kill out the life. If we were to have pulled that back and put a seed in, that seed would have grown really well. So what we're really doing is discouraging the things we don't want by encouraging the things we do want by using the mulch. And I got some green grass we're going to mix in with my recipe. We're going to put it around a few plants. You want to come help me do that? Now before you ask me where I got the leaves, got an old cottonwood tree that when it gets a little warm and dry, it likes to drop its leaves. So you take whatever organic matter you can get, wherever you can get it, and that's part of your recipe. Now if you're going to use fresh cut green grass, you don't want to put that too thick right around a plant. It will tend to get hot. But we're mixing it in with all of this brown, so we ought to be just fine. And what better morning to do a little mulching? It's about 74 degrees out here, nice light breeze. Early August, nice cool mornings. It is going to get warm in the afternoon, but it's still summer. And mulching takes place all year long. I've got a pretty good mulch base around all the plants right now. Part of my strategy is, if you got a nice cool day and you got to walk a ways, I'm going to take it to the furthest back point of the garden. It's real easy to dump it right at the gate. And since you brought your work gloves, let's go ahead and get a couple more wheelbarrows full. Remember, we're not feeding the plants with this mulch. We're feeding the life in the soil. We're feeding the microbes that break down the dirt. You know, the sand, silt, and that's what makes the nutrients available for the plants. All right there at the root zone. The more we try to suppress weeds, the more we feed that life, and the more the plants grow. I mean, you can see the results, even with the lack of water, the excessive heat, and the bug pressure. Well, we're doing okay. Then we get back to the question of how much mulch do we put down? To quote a mentor of mine, Ruth Stout, more. So let's go get some more. Now sure, I could take and just toss this right over the fence, but I run the risk of covering up something I don't want to get covered up. And if you're going to put in fresh green grass around your plants, you want to be pretty precise about how you do it. I'll show you, I'll give you an example here in just a second. But we got some freshly mowed, we got some trimmed grass, some of it's longer, some of it's thinner. It really doesn't matter. It's all good organics. Whatever you can get your hands on, that's Waylon's recipe. Then again, far be it for me to tell you how to pick up your grass, how to lay in your mulch, or how to build your own garden. I'm just showing you what I do. The rain we had, this green grew pretty fast, and it's kind of heavy and wet. It's going to heat up real nice in the pile back here. Now right in here, where we dug those potatoes, and then we went ahead and planted some sweet potatoes. And I forgot about them. Didn't water over here for a couple days, and I thought they were goners. Planted them without roots, but look, they're coming up just fine. It's a little thin here, so when you're going to use fresh cut grass, just put it lightly on the ground around them. You don't want to make a pile. You don't want this stuff starting to heat up. And I can already feel the heat in here. So by putting it on kind of light, you allow that to kind of dry out, and that'll stop that. But you're just adding a little bit. And this mulch is pretty good, but I'm just going to put a little bit of this grass right down the middle of that row. I'll put a little grass down the middle of this row. You really don't want this grass right up against your plants, but once it's dried out, that's just fine. Now, of course, if you see a little pile with nothing growing there and you got dirt exposed, go ahead and put a decent handful there. That ground wants to stay covered, remember, and we want to suppress the weeds. Now, if this wants to heat up here, that's fine. It's in between the squash, the cucumbers, and the baby amaranth patch. Then we come back with the pitchfork and spread that out at our leisure. If you'd like to learn more about the life in the soil and the soil food web, I'll have a link at the end of this episode, and then I'll join you back in the garden. But for right now, let's go ahead and get some hay. I've been asked several times, how do I know if my hay's been treated or not with an herbicide? All this heavy stems, that's weeds. They didn't spray any of this, which is just fine for what I want to use it for. This will all mulch down really well. Does everybody have a pencil and paper? Get ready to write down. This is a secret recipe for Wayland's mulch. 1 part leaves, 1 part green grass, or is it 1 part wood chips, 2 parts leaves? It doesn't matter. Whatever organics that you can get your hands on, just pile them up. If you pile them up more than about a foot, then you just leave them alone and they'll kind of break down and you can spread them out at your leisure. If you're going to use real hot green grass and you want to put them around your plants, put it in pretty thin until it cools down. I would have loved to have done more real compost this year, but with the broken leg I wasn't able to turn it. And now the compost pile is full of sweet potatoes, watermelons, and tomatoes. So it'll be next year before we get back to the real compost, but this will work just fine. This will break down enough that when we spread this out over the winter, it's going to be perfect. You brought your kitchen scraps with you, I hope. That's why I kind of spread that green out. So just dump your kitchen scraps right there in the middle. So we really do have layers here. We had some wood chips on the bottom. We just put some leaves and dry grass, put some green grass and kitchen scraps. Then we're just going to cover it with hay. I'm not going to put this whole wheelbarrow full of hay on here. That's a pretty good pile. That should be about enough. I got another spot over here. Let's go ahead and put the rest of this on. Now you can do this too. There is no secret to it. There's no recipe to it. You just want to put it in 4 inches thick or thicker to suppress the weeds. The ground wants to stay covered. Now you can cover it with some organic material, or God's going to cover it with something. Most likely weeds. You can do this too. It's not that hard. You work at it a little bit every day. In the evenings when it cools down, in the mornings when it's cool, you can get a lot done. I do want to thank you for coming by, taking a look at mulch, help me lay in some hay, getting a moderately sized mulch pile going. I'll spread that out at my leisure. It's just that simple. There is no trick to it. You just want to keep the ground covered. If you want to hear more about compost, click that link right there and I'll meet you back in the garden. But until next time, remember, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and God bless you. Come on, let's plant. Let's go plant garden.